Welcome back. We're picking up where we left off.
Yes, we are.
We are closing the book on Esther's narrative history, and we are opening the book of Job.
Finally.
Right, finally. We are treating Job as a 5-part deep dive.
Which is absolutely necessary.
It really is. We structure it this way because of the sheer density of the text. I mean, you can't just skim Job.
No, definitely not.
So today is part 1. We're going to cover chapters 1 through 3.
Just setting the stage, really.
Exactly. We will examine the prologue. We will examine the scenes on earth and the scenes in heaven.
The dual setting is so important there.
Right. And we will cover the specific architecture of the text itself. Then we will conclude with chapter 3.
The Lament.
Yes, Job's opening lament, which is this exact moment the text shifts from prose to poetry.
There's a violent shift, too.
It is. And along the way, we'll explore the heavenly council. We'll analyze the figure called the Satan.
Lots to unpack there.
Oh, for sure. And we will establish the ancient Near Eastern wisdom literature context. Because Job doesn't just exist in a vacuum.
Right. It's a distinct shift from our previous material. I mean, everything we have studied since Ruth has been narrative history.
Yeah.
But Job is different. It's a dense philosophical text. It is mostly poetry, but it's wrapped in this prose folktale frame.
Kind of like a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. And it argues with itself constantly.
It really does. So let us establish the narrative and historical overview for you. We will tell the story first, just to get the vivid picture before we turn to the analytical questions.
Good idea.
So picture the ancient Near East. Imagine the early Iron Age. We are looking at a pastoral, patriarchal setting here.
Very old school.
Right. Job is not anchored to a specific Israelite king. He is not tied to a datable political event.
No dates, no reigns.
Exactly. He lives in the land of Uz. And scholars generally locate this in Edomite or Aramean territory.
Which is a huge detail.
It is. This means Job is not an Israelite. He is an outsider. I mean, he worships the God of Israel, but he is not one of the covenant people.
And this geographic and genealogical detail, it matters immensely. The text places this intense, this massive meditation on suffering in the mouth of a foreigner.
Yeah, which is fascinating.
It removes the problem of suffering from the specific context of the Sinai covenant. It makes the question universal.
So it's not just an Israelite problem.
Right. It asks about the human condition, not just the Israelite condition.
That makes a lot of sense. So, looking at his life, Job is a wealthy pastoralist. He is a man of massive status.
Extremely wealthy.
Right. He owns 7,000 sheep. He owns 3,000 camels.
Wow.
He has 500 yoke of oxen. He has 500 donkeys. I mean, this represents an enormous commercial enterprise.
It's an entire corporation in the ancient world.
Exactly. He commands a large workforce to manage these herds. And on the family side, he has 7 sons. He has 3 daughters.
The perfect family.
Yeah. The text literally calls him the greatest of all the people of the East.
He's at the pinnacle.
He really is. And the text also says he is blameless and upright. He fears God. He turns away from evil.
And this is stated as a simple fact.
Right, no qualifications.
Exactly. The narrator does not present his righteousness as a relative condition. It is an absolute state within the reality of the story.
That's a great point.
That's a foundational premise. I mean, if Job were secretly guilty, the whole narrative architecture would collapse.
Right, the whole test wouldn't make sense. So from this height, the catastrophe strikes suddenly.
Out of nowhere.
And it happens with just brutal efficiency. 4 messengers arrive back to back.
The pacing here is wild.
It is. The first messenger reports that Sabeans raided the oxen and the donkeys, and the Sabeans killed the servants.
Okay.
And then before the first messenger even finishes speaking, the second messenger arrives.
Right, the classic ancient literary device.
Yep. He reports that fire from heaven consumed the sheep. Then the third messenger arrives.
Also while the previous one is speaking.
Exactly. He reports that Chaldeans formed 3 columns and stole the camels.
It's just total loss of wealth.
And then the fourth messenger arrives. He reports a great wind from the wilderness. The wind struck the 4 corners of the house where his children were feasting.
Oh, this is the worst one.
Yeah, the house collapsed. All 10 children are dead.
It's just devastating. The destruction comes from all directions. I mean,
Yeah.
it comes from human enemies like the Sabeans and Chaldeans.
Right.
It comes from natural disasters. It comes from the sky with the fire. It comes from the wilderness with the wind.
It's total erasure.
Complete.
So Job responds to this devastation. He grieves, he tears his robe, he shaves his head.
Very traditional mourning.
Yeah, he falls to the ground. and he worships.
Which is astonishing.
It is. He speaks. He says, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away."
Such a famous line.
Right.
Yeah.
He blesses the name of the Lord, and the text notes specifically that Job did not sin. He did not charge God with wrong.
But then a second affliction follows shortly after.
Right. It's not over.
No. Job is struck with severe physical illness. He is covered in loathsome sores,
Just agony.
and the sores extend from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. So he sits in the ashes. He actually scrapes his skin with a piece of broken pottery.
Just trying to get some relief.
Yeah, it's visceral.
And then his wife speaks to him. She tells him to retain his integrity no longer. She tells him to curse God and die.
Which is a heavy thing to say.
Yeah, but Job refuses her counsel. He asks if they should accept good from God and not accept evil. And the text notes again that Job did not sin with his lips.
With his lips, that's a key phrase.
Right. We'll come back to that. Then his 3 friends arrive. They are Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar.
The famous comforters.
Right. They come from distant regions. They see him from afar, and they don't even recognize him.
He's so disfigured by the disease and grief.
Yeah. They weep. They tear their robes. They throw dust on their heads. They sit with him on the ground.
And they sit in silence.
Yes. They sit in silence for 7 days and 7 nights.
Which is profound.
And then finally, Job speaks.
So that is the narrative arc of the prologue.
Right.
We move now from the story to the analytical questions,
Right.
because we need to unpack how this is built. We will ask 3 core questions today.
Okay. Lay them out for us.
First, what is the composition of the text? We will look at the prose frame versus the poetic center.
Got it.
Second, who is the Satan? We really need to separate the Hebrew text from later tradition.
Yes, that is crucial.
And third, what is this genre? We will look at Babylonian and Egyptian parallels.
So we are looking at the literary structure, the key adversarial figure, and the broader ancient context.
Exactly. And we will rely on specific scholars for this analysis.
Right. It's important to know who we're drawing from here.
David Kleins offers comprehensive commentary in the Word Biblical Commentary series.
That's a massive commentary.
It is. Norman Habel explores language and sound of the Old Testament library series.
Okay.
Chunleong Sao traces the reception history of the text. And Carol Newsom unpacks the multi-voiced nature of the dialogue, which is fascinating.
Excellent. Let us begin with the first question then. Let us examine the prose frame and the earthly scene.
Okay.
The book begins with a prose folktale frame. It uses simple, formulaic language. It opens with, "There was a man."
Like Once Upon a Time.
Basically, yeah. It uses pattern numbers. 7 sons, 3 daughters, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels.
And these numbers are not arbitrary.
Not at all.
7 and 3 represent completeness in ancient storytelling. 10 represents a totality.
Right, so you had 7 sons and 3 daughters.
You get 10 children.
Yeah.
You add 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels. You get 10,000 herd animals.
It's all very calculated.
Yes. They signal a life that is perfectly ordered. They signify wholeness. This is a standard literary convention in ancient Near Eastern texts.
So the author uses these numbers to construct an idealized portrait.
Exactly.
And the narrator establishes Job's absolute innocence immediately. This closes the door on traditional retributive logic.
Right, which is huge.
Because retributive theology dominates the ancient world. You suffer because you sinned. You prosper because you did not sin.
It's the standard equation. The book of Deuteronomy codifies this logic for Israel.
Yes, very clearly.
The book of Proverbs relies heavily on this framework. The righteous flourish, the wicked perish.
But the prologue of Job deliberately bypasses this framework. We know Job is not suffering for hidden sins.
The reader knows this.
Right, the reader knows this. Job does not know this. His friends do not know this.
And this knowledge gap drives the entire book.
It really does. It creates incredible dramatic irony. We watch characters debate a premise we already know is false.
Because we've seen behind the curtain.
Exactly. Look at Job's sacrifices in chapter 1. His children hold these feasts, and Job offers sacrifices after these feasts.
Just in case.
Right. He rises early in the morning. He offers burnt offerings according to the number of them all. He says, "It may be that my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts."
He is scrupulously pious. He is not just avoiding visible public sin. He is actively hedging against invisible internal sin.
Right.
He accounts for the private thoughts of his adult children. He acts out of extreme religious diligence.
I want to note a crucial tension here, though. Job actively hedges against unseen sin in this opening scene.
Right.
But later, his friends will arrive, and they will accuse him of this exact kind of hidden sin.
Yes, they will.
They will say he must be hiding something. So, does the narrator include this specific detail about the sacrifices to make the friends' later accusations ring hollow to the reader?
That is a highly precise reading, and yes, the narrator built an airtight case for Job's innocence.
Okay.
The reader sees Job addressing the very thing the friends will later hypothesize. So when Eliphaz suggests Job must have sinned secretly, you know Eliphaz is wrong.
Because we saw Job cover that base.
Exactly. You saw Job explicitly accounting for secret sins. The text makes the friends' theology look inadequate before they even open their mouths.
That is brilliant narrative design.
It really is.
So, this establishes the earthly reality. Job is innocent. He is pious. He is thoroughly protected. But then we move from the established innocence of Job on earth to the sudden scrutiny of Job in heaven.
The scene shifts entirely.
It does.
We leave the land of Uz. We enter the divine realm.
The text says the sons of God presented themselves before Yahweh.
Right.
The Hebrew phrase is Bene Elohim. This is the divine council.
Yes, and this is standard imagery in ancient Near Eastern religion. We see it in Ugaritic texts. We see it in Mesopotamian pantheons.
It's everywhere.
It is. The divine council is a recognized fixture in early Israelite literature, too. You see it in Psalm 82.
Right. God stands in the divine council.
He judges among the gods. You also see it in 1 Kings 22. Micaiah sees the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven stands beside him.
So it represents Yahweh presiding over a heavenly court.
Exactly. It operates like a royal administration. These lesser divine beings serve specific functions. They run errands. They report on the earth.
Like ancient bureaucrats.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah. And then the Satan arrives among them.
This is where we need to introduce Peggy Day's 1988 monograph.
Yes, let's talk about that.
The book is called An Adversary in Heaven. It is a vital text for this discussion.
So important.
Because the Hebrew word in the text is ha-Satan. It has a definite article attached to it.
The ha part.
Right. It is a title. It is not a proper name.
And this grammatical point is essential for serious readers.
It really changes how you read the prologue. In Hebrew grammar, you cannot attach a definite article to a proper name.
Right. You do not say the David. You do not say the Moses.
Exactly. You say the king or the prophet.
So the word is ha-Satan. It translates to the accuser or the challenger.
The noun Satan without the article simply means an adversary. It often describes a human adversary in a legal or military dispute.
So it is a functional title within this court. The Satan functions as a prosecuting attorney.
Basically, yeah. He is an inspector general for the divine council. He patrols the earth. He looks for flaws in the system.
John Walton frames this encounter as a legal test. The challenger tests God's policy.
Not Job's patience, but God's policy.
Right. He tests the policy of blessing the righteous.
He asks a sharp theological question. He says, does Job fear God for nothing?
That is the intellectual center of the prologue right there.
It is. The challenger suggests Job's righteousness is purely transactional. God pays Job in blessings. Job pays God in piety.
It's just a business deal.
Exactly. The Satan asks, what happens if you remove the payment? Will the piety remain?
That's a great question.
He suggests the system of retribution actually makes true disinterested righteousness impossible.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. If doing good always pays, you never know if someone is doing good just for the payoff.
That makes perfect sense. But I want to highlight something. The Satan acts only with explicit bounded permission. Yahweh sets the limits.
Very strict limits.
God says, behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand.
Right.
There is no independent rogue power operating here. Yahweh is fully sovereign.
Yes, the terror lies in the bureaucracy.
That is a chilling way to frame it, honestly.
But it's true. Job's ruin starts as routine docket business in the heavenly court. The sons of God gather. The Satan gives his status report. Yahweh brings up Job's file.
Just casual.
It is a procedural conversation. The destruction of a man's life is authorized in a quiet administrative meeting.
I want to challenge the purely administrative view for a second, though.
Okay, sure.
We can acknowledge the bureaucratic setting, and we recognize the grammatical function of the title, ha-Satan. But look at the sheer cynicism of the challenger's question.
He does seem quite skeptical.
He seems to really enjoy pressing the issue. So, can we acknowledge the minority scholarly view here?
The darker reading.
Yes. Some scholars see a genuine, lingering menace in this figure. They see a connection pointing forward to the Leviathan imagery at the end of the book.
That is a fair observation. I mean, Peggy Day's baseline is vital for stripping away later anachronistic views of a cosmic rebel.
Right, we can't read Milton into Job.
Exactly. We must read the text in its Iron Age context. But the text does allow for a darker reading. The Satan acts as an adversary to the human. He introduces chaos into order.
He wants to tear it down.
He seeks to dismantle Job's whole existence. Even within his authorized bounds, his function is profoundly destructive.
It's ruinous.
The Leviathan connection is actually very compelling. Leviathan represents bounded chaos. God controls Leviathan. God plays with Leviathan.
But Leviathan remains terrifying to humans.
Exactly. And the Satan operates similarly in the prologue. He is on a leash, but he is a beast.
That's a great image. So we establish the legal framework. The Satan brings a case against Job's motives. Yahweh allows the case to proceed. The test is initiated.
And this brings us to the broader intellectual context of the ancient Near East.
Yes, we need to step back and look at the larger literary landscape. Job is not an isolated text.
Not at all. It is part of a massive cross-cultural genre.
Right. Wisdom literature existed across the ancient Near East. It thrived for over a millennium before the Book of Job reached its final form.
It's a very old tradition.
So let's examine the Babylonian text Ludlo Bel Nemeki.
Yes.
Scholars often refer to this as the Babylonian Job. Takayoshi Oshima provides the critical philological study for this text,
And it dates to the 2nd millennium BCE,
which is incredibly early.
long before Israel existed as a nation.
Right. So what happens in this text?
Well, the text features a man named Shub-Shi-Mesh-Reshakin.
Okay.
He is a pious man. He is a high-ranking official. And he loses everything.
Sounds familiar.
Very. He loses his health. He loses his social standing. His family abandons him.
Wow.
The text spends a vast amount of time describing his physical suffering. He lists his ailments in excruciating detail.
So he's really focused on the physical pain.
Yes, and he feels abandoned by his god, Marduk. He laments his condition, but eventually Marduk intervenes. The man is restored.
It's a very clear parallel. We also had the Babylonian Theodicy.
Yes, which is a slightly different format.
Right. It features a dialogue, a sufferer speaks, a friend responds.
Very much like the middle section of Job.
Exactly. They debate divine justice. The sufferer points out that the wicked prosper. The friend defends the justice of the gods.
Standard arguments.
The friend says human understanding is limited. And we should also mention Egyptian wisdom texts as well.
The Egyptian material is fascinating.
It is. These date from the Old and Middle Kingdoms. The dispute between a man and his Ba is a famous example.
His Ba being his soul.
Right. And these texts ask similar questions. They ask about unjust suffering. They ask why the moral order sometimes fails.
But Oshima clarifies an important point about these parallels.
We need to be careful here.
Yes, this is not direct literary borrowing. The author of Job is not sitting there translating a copy of Ludil Bel Nemeki.
It's not plagiarism.
No, this is shared cultural DNA. Ancient minds across the region independently wrestled with this exact problem.
Because everyone suffers.
Exactly. The righteous sufferer motif was a recognized, established literary category.
The scribes in Babylon, in Egypt, and in Israel all face the same cognitive dissonance.
If the gods are just, why do the innocent suffer?
Right. They all develop literary forms to explore it, but I want to know where the parallels break down.
This is the important part.
Because the Babylonian texts often settle for hidden guilt.
Yes, they do. Shub-Shi-Mesh-Reshakin assumes he must have offended a god unknowingly.
He assumes he missed a ritual.
Or he stepped on a taboo. He accepts that the gods are right, even if he does not know what he did wrong.
He just yields.
Other Babylonian texts settle for divine inscrutability. They conclude the gods are simply beyond human understanding. Their justice is not our justice.
And this highlights Job's unique innovation.
It really sets Job apart.
Job refuses to assume hidden guilt.
Right.
He knows he is innocent. He maintains his integrity. He demands a formal legal hearing.
He pushes back.
He wants a trial with God. He literally wants a subpoena.
The Babylonian sufferers eventually submit to the mystery. They bow their heads. But Job refuses to submit without an explanation.
He demands accountability from the divine.
And this demand makes the biblical text distinctively relentless.
Relentless is the perfect word for it.
It pushes the theological envelope further than its neighbors.
And this relentlessness defines the rest of the book. It drives the dialogue. So let's return now to the narrative progression. We arrive at the hinge of chapter 3.
Okay, let us retrace the steps leading to this moment.
Right.
The first wager occurs. Job loses his wealth. He loses his children. He tears his robe. He shaves his head. He falls to the ground. He worships.
And the narrator delivers a clear verdict. In all of this, Job did not sin.
But then the Satan returns to the council. He issues the second challenge.
The skin for skin argument.
Right, he says skin for skin. He argues that a man will give everything for his life, touch his bone and his flesh, see if he will curse you.
So Yahweh grants permission for the second test. Job's life is spared, but his body is struck.
He is covered in sores. He sits among the ashes.
And this is where his wife enters the narrative. She sees his degraded condition. She says, "Do you still hold fast your integrity? Curse God and die."
She is basically advocating for theological suicide.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
She wants him to provoke God into killing him. It is a plea to end his suffering.
But Job rebukes her. He calls her words foolish. He asks, "Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil?"
And the narrator delivers another verdict. In all this, Job did not sin with his lips.
Notice the specific qualification there.
Yes, he did not sin with his lips. The narrator adds a boundary.
Right. The first verdict was absolute.
The second verdict is localized to his speech. The inner turmoil is beginning to build.
The pressure is rising.
It's boiling just under the surface.
So then the three friends arrive: Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, Zophar the Naamathite.
They are also from Edomite or Arabian regions.
Right. They are traditional wise men. They hear of his adversity. They come to show him sympathy. They come to comfort him.
They raise their eyes from afar,
Yeah.
and they do not recognize the ruined figure in the ashes.
It's a tragic scene. They enact traditional mourning rites. They weep aloud. They tear their robes. They throw dust in the air upon their heads.
And they sit with him on the ground.
They sit in silence for 7 days and 7 nights.
Because they see his suffering is very great.
Mm.
No one speaks a word to him.
This is a profound silence. It is the longest narrated silence in the Hebrew Bible.
It feels heavy just reading it.
The text forces us to sit in this uncomfortable space. And it marks the end of the prose prologue.
Then chapter 3 begins.
Job finally opens his mouth.
And the text shifts violently. We leave the measured, formulaic prose folktale. We enter dense, turbulent Hebrew poetry.
Everything changes.
The vocabulary changes, the syntax changes, the mood changes completely.
Job curses the day of his birth. Now, he does not curse God.
No, he curses the day.
He says, "Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night that said, a man is conceived."
Job's poetry actively inverts creation here.
It does.
He uses the vocabulary Genesis 1 in reverse.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, in Genesis, God says, "Let there be light." God separates the light from the darkness. God calls the light good. But in Job chapter 3, Job says, "Let that day be darkness." He asks for the darkness to swallow the light.
He asks darkness to reclaim the creation.
Exactly.
He wants the day of his birth erased. He wants it removed from the calendar entirely.
He asks why light is given to a man in misery. He asks why life is given to the bitter in soul.
He says they long for death, but it does not come. They dig for it more than for hidden treasures.
He describes his existence as a trap. He says his way is hidden. He says God has hedged him in.
Now that word is critical, hedged.
Oh, it is.
It ironically echoes the Satan's earlier complaint, because in chapter 1, the Satan accused God of putting a hedge of protection around Job.
Right. He said God fenced him in with blessings.
But now in chapter 3, Job feels a hedge of affliction.
He is fenced in by suffering.
The protection has become a prison.
And the vocabulary is highly deliberate. The poet connects the earthly lament back to the heavenly wager.
Job feels trapped by his existence. He cannot escape his own life.
That's the core of his anguish.
I want to point out the target of Job's despair here, though. Job does not address God directly yet.
No, he doesn't.
He speaks in the third person. He speaks into the void. He asks, "Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden?" He does not say, "Why did you give me light?"
He is unburdening his soul.
Right.
This is an expression of raw, unmediated pain. He is not yet formulating his legal case.
He's just hurting.
He is wishing he did not exist. He's wishing he had died at birth. He is wishing he was in the underworld, where the wicked cease from troubling and the weary are at rest.
So how does this distinction set the rules and engagement for the coming dialogue cycles? Because we have raw despair here. The formal legal complaint will come later.
Chapter 3 is the catalyst for the entire debate.
Okay.
Job expresses a desire for oblivion. His friends hear this.
And they don't like it.
No, they interpret his despair as a theological error. They
Yeah.
hear a rejection of life,
Right.
so they feel compelled to correct him. Job's opening lament forces the friends to break their silence. They will try to defend the traditional moral order.
And then Job will pivot.
Exactly. He will move from lamenting his existence to actively defending his innocence.
The legal complaint grows out of his frustration with his friends' inadequate answers.
That's the engine of the whole middle section.
Well, we're going to put down the critical commentary now.
It's time.
We're going to transition to our LDS devotional closing. Let's just slow the pace. We need to sit with Job as a person.
It is so necessary to sit with the man. The textual history is important. The comparative literature is important.
The linguistic analysis is vital.
But the human reality of the text is central to its enduring power.
It really is. So we reflect on the Come Follow Me theme. The theme is, Yet will I trust in him. We must examine Job's initial reaction carefully.
He is not a stoic statue.
No, he does not suppress his emotion. He tears his clothes. He falls to the earth. He shaves his head.
These are normal gestures of grief.
They are honest gestures.
You know, modern readers often misread the phrase, the patience of Job.
They really do.
They think he felt nothing. They think he merely accepted his fate passively.
Like he was just perfectly calm.
Right. But the text shows a man in absolute agony. His grief is visceral. He is screaming into the dirt.
Yet he turns to worship in the middle of devastation. He speaks the truth of his loss honestly. His faith is severely tested here.
It is severely questioned.
But it is never abandoned.
And the study manual emphasizes this distinction. Questioning is not the same as abandoning.
That's a beautiful point.
Job wrestles with God. Wrestling implies close, sustained engagement.
You have to be close to wrestle.
Exactly. He does not walk away. He stays in the ring. He demands an audience.
I want to touch on the heavenly council scene again briefly.
Yes, let's look at that through this lens.
Latter-day Saints hear echoes of the premortal existence in these verses. We see the sons of God. We see a council setting.
We hold a specific vocabulary for this structure.
We do. We recognize the concept of a divine gathering. We recognize the presentation of plans and policies.
We recognize the presence of an adversary within that council setting who challenges the divine order.
The resonance is undeniable.
It is. The text feels immediately familiar to a Latter-day Saint reader who understands the theology of the premortal councils.
Now, we will save the deep dive into Doctrine and Covenants 121 for Episode 5.
And the temple parallels.
Yes, we'll save the temple parallels for Episode 5. But the architectural similarity is striking right away in Chapter 1.
It is.
So let's focus our conclusion on the man in the ashes. Job acknowledges that everything was a gift. He came naked. He will return naked.
The giver retains the right to withdraw the gift.
And this withdrawal does not cancel the goodness of the giver.
Which is a devastatingly hard truth.
It is.
Job utters it while sitting in total ruin. He refuses to curse the source of his previous joy, even when the joy is gone.
And this posture points directly to Jesus Christ. Latter-day Saints worship a Savior who descended below all things.
Christ meets us in the ashes.
He really does.
He does not demand a performance of composure. He holds space for honest anguish.
Because he understands it.
The Savior understands the depths of human suffering. He experienced it in Gethsemane. He experienced it on the cross. He cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?"
Job's lament in chapter 3 echoes that cry of forsakenness. Job feels entirely abandoned by the light.
Yet he continues to speak.
He continues to search for order in the chaos.
Christ's descent below all things gives profound meaning to our own suffering.
It does.
When we sit in our own ashes, we are not alone. The Savior has been there. He comprehends the despair.
He honors the grief.
He sanctifies the suffering.
That is beautifully said. I want to leave you with one last idea to mull over as we close.
Okay.
Consider the silence of God in chapter 3. Consider the 7 days of silence from the friends.
That long, heavy void.
Exactly. Does Job need this initial total silence? Does the void serve as a necessary canvas for Job to unmake his own understanding of the world before God can eventually speak out of the whirlwind?
That is a profound question. The silence prepares the ground.
Right.
The old theology must be burned away before the new revelation can arrive.
We will pick up right there next time. Eliphaz will break the silence. Thank you for being with us.